There's a couple of very important things I want to talk about. So, whenever I say tools down, you would say tools down, tools down, tools down. The smartest place to put your ruler is right at the top of your desk where your name tag is, so that you're not playing with it. You're not going to lose this tool for the unit, because that would be the pits. There will be lots of homework at home every day. So make sure you put your ruler on your name tag. I'll give you 3 more seconds to get it there. 2, Gavin, River, 1, and 0. There's a couple things I want to talk to you about your rulers. Thing numero uno. You might notice that there were lines on both sides, right?
Yeah.
So I've got some lines that are pretty tiny. I might want to erase that so you can see. These lines here that are on top right now, they're pretty close together, right? They're only like a pinky width. Does anybody know what those units are? And your ruler might say it, or it might be rubbed off. But who knows what type of measurement the skinnier ones are? Hendrix? Say that again. Yes, these are centimeters. And sometimes we measure in centimeters, especially with science stuff. We've been measuring in centimeters, like with our magnets. But today we're going to be stubborn Americans. Today we are going to measure in inches. What are we going to measure in?
Inches.
Did you know that the United States of America is the only country that uses inches to measure length?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We're the only ones, and because that's our custom, and it's what our country does for our first unit of measurement, we call it a customary measurement. What is it?
Customary measurement.
So we're going to flip it and make sure that you've got the wider spacing on the top. And you're going to notice a few lines. Now this is a little bit tricky, so I'm going to zoom in really close. So really peek up here and check it out. You want the numbers that are spaced further apart. Okay? So,
Is it this side?
what I'm showing right now, yep, that side right here. What I'm showing right now is between 0 and 1 inch. And my eraser actually says inches, like on top, and centimeters on the other. But like I said, some of these are getting older and it's rubbed off a little. So you're just looking for the numbers. You can tell these numbers are closer together, and these numbers are further apart. I want the numbers that are further apart. Which ones do I want? Okay. Your rulers have way more lines than I need you to worry about. But I want you using real rulers because I want you to know the real life tool that people use to measure. So between 0 and 1, who thinks they know how many inches that would be? Emerson? It might help if I tell you there's 12 inches in 1 foot or 1 ruler. So go ahead and look at the numbers on there and see how many there are. There are 12, which means that each number is going to represent 1 inch. 1 inch. So 0 to 1, even though there's all of these lines in between, 0 to 1 is just 1 inch. How far is 0 to 1?
1 inch.
So these lines in between, these are just parts of an inch. Because we know that there are things that are closer than 1 inch together, right?
What did
Like,
you say?
if you look, friends, we know that our magnet strength, our magnetic field, was only a centimeter. Look at how much smaller that is than my inch. So sometimes we need to measure things that are smaller than an inch, Savannah. So we have to have all of these little lines in between and understand what they mean. Can I give you guys some good news? You don't need to know all of these itty bitty lines. You only need to know 4 of them. How many do you need to know?
4.
So if you take an inch and you chop it into 4 pieces, that would give you fourths or quarters. And I love when you guys were measuring or making your estimates with your pencils. A lot of you were already saying like, oh, I think it's 4 1/2 pencils. Or I think it's 4 1/4 pencils, or 2 quarters, right? 3 quarters. That's what these lines help us measure. So if you're looking between 0 and 1, do you notice that one of the lines in between is longer than all of the other in between lines? Do I have a volunteer who sees which one is the longest in between line that you could come up and point, Skylar? And I'll give you a hint. It's the half-inch mark. You betcha. The one right in the middle. Thank you, sir. The one right in the middle is a half inch.
Also,
And here's why.
why does it say 16
I'm
FTHS?
not sure. It took, oh, that's kind of fuzzy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It took that inch mark from 0 to 1, and it took it and it cut it in half, which means that that's one part out of the whole, out of the two pieces I divided it into, right? So I cut it into two pieces. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
I took that inch and I cut it into two pieces. This is going one of those two pieces
Like a half an
apart.
inch. Like fraction.
It is actually, exactly, it is a fraction, and it is exactly half of an inch. Then there's two other lines that are kind of longer. They're not quite as short as the other ones. It's not quite as long as the half-inch line,
It's
but they hang out a little bit longer. Do I have a volunteer to come point out those other ones? They're kind of longer lines. Rylan, go ahead. Sorry, I put that really tall for you to try to reach, but I think you can get it. So that one's, those are the longest. Where's another in-between long line? That's my 0 and my 1. Look at the in-betweens where I don't have any lines drawn yet. So I've drawn the half-inch. What's my next longest ones that are just shown on the projector? They're not on the whiteboard yet. Yes! So there's one. Bingo. Thank you, miss. You can sit down. Rylan found my next long lines right here and right here. I'm going to go ahead and take away my ruler so it's easier to see now. What do you notice about the spacing on those lines? If I started at 0 and I made it to 1 inch and we went halfway, what happened with the other longer lines? Eli?
It's a quarter.
It is. It chopped it into 4 pieces, which means each one of these is 1/4 inch, or 1 out of 4 pieces.
1/4.
So I can go 1/4. If I do it 2 times, how much would that be?
2/4.
Which means that 1/2 is the same as 2/4. And then my next line, I've gone 1, 2, 3/4. And then if I go one more, I've gone the whole way, so it's just the same as 1 whole, or
4 cent.
it would be the same as 4.
Our 4 centimeters.
Hocus pocus.
Everybody focus.
When we are measuring, we will measure to the 1/4 inch. Or 1/4 inch is the same thing as a 1/4 inch. Just like there's 4 quarters in a dollar. Or there's 4 quarters in a basketball game or a football game, right? The reason they're called quarters is because they're split into how many chunks?
Well, there's also
So each
second.
time you're talking about a quarter, it's 1/4 of the game. So when we have halftime, it's because you've made it through 2 quarters or 2/4. Okay? So I just wanted to kind of get those in your brains because we are going to be measuring 1/4 inches, half inches, 3/4 inches, and whole inches.
Keegan's fine.
Now that you know this, I would love for you to try to measure the width of your desk to the nearest 1/4 inch. So I want you trying to figure out if actually, let's do some practice ones on the board instead.
How much quarter?
Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna draw a line on my board, and we're gonna go ahead and practice measuring this line. I'm gonna use a yardstick instead because I'm gonna be lazy, and it still has inches on it. It just is a
Eli's
little longer, so I
measuring.
don't have to keep picking up my ruler. Go ahead. Do you have a new one in your locker? Then you can head to the office and they'll get you hooked up. So I'm gonna measure. Let's see. I want to know how many inches it is from here all the way to here. If I were to just guess, what would I call that? Kind of like you guessed how many pencils wide your desk is, Olivia? It would be an estimate. Does anybody have an estimate for how many inches you think this could be? What do you think, Ellie? I'll give you a hint. This guy's 36 inches long, so you can.
Our desks
What's
are
your
like
guess,
3
Miss
feet
Ellie?
long.
Pick a number.
Our desks are like 3 feet long.
Okay. What do you think, Braylon? Maybe it's exactly 36 inches, exactly the width of this. What do you think, Maddie? You think same thing? Who thinks it's going to be bigger than 36 inches? Somebody who thinks it's going to be a little bit less than this. Okay, well, let's find out. I'm going to line it up now. Tell me if I'm lining this up right.
Nope. No.
Oh, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to fix here? River.
You need to zero at the edge of the whatever you're measuring.
Bingo. Now this is tricky. My yardstick actually does start at 0. So this particular one I can butt the end up instead of finding my 0, which is kind of nice. Otherwise I would have to line, like if my 0 started here, I would have to line that spot up with the dot, right? But my yardstick does start at 0, so I'm going to start the end of my yardstick at this dot. And I'm going to go across, and I'm going to notice
It's at 33.
my other dot ends right here. I'm going to kind of walk around and show you guys where I went to.
It's like at 33. I already said.
What do you think it is?
32. I mean 32 and a half.
Skylar thinks it's 32 and a half. I'm going to zoom, show my online friends. Goes right to my thumbnail there. It's right in between 32 and 33. Let me project it so you guys can see what it got to. If I can figure out how to line that up under here.
30.
It got to right here.
Oh, 32 and a half.
It's smack in the middle between 32 and 33. Who thinks they know what I would call that measurement? Hendricks?
32 and a half.
Yes, it would be 32 full inches plus an extra half inch because it's halfway between
Hey, now
32 and 33.
now
So
it's
good.
one-
Hey, I need to give you guys a point for that.
Now
What do you say?
it's, now it's only 2 inches.
That is impressive.
Michelle.
Yes, you're right. If I were going to measure this on the board now with it all zoomed in like that, and I started my... Man, it's hard to find the ruler when it's that far zoomed in. Maybe. If I started at my 0...
So it's like
Oh, that's really hard to find. Okay. How many inches is it now? 3 inches. What if I zoomed in a little bit more and I had to start it right here?
2 fourths.
Ooh, it's the first long line after the 2, so it would be 2 and 2 1/4, or I heard Emerson call it different, 2 and 1
2 and 4ths.
4th. Either way
2
works.
fourths.
Good work, friends. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up so we can move on to our first activity today, okay?